Asa Ki Vaar. Welcome to another session of Khoj Gurbani. Ravinder Singh here from Columbus, helping to facilitate the session. And today we will be walking through the 20th stanza of Asa Ki Vaar. That said, I will start the process as we usually do by reading through the entire passage once and then revert back and provide a kind of a literal English reading of it. And then we'll open it up to discussion. So let me start by reading the passage. Slok Mahalla Pehla Nanak Phikka Boliye Tan Man Phikka Hoy Phikko Phikka Saddiye Phikke Phikki Soy Phikka Darge Satiye Mohe Thukka Phikke Paye Phikka Murk Akhiye Pana Leh Sajaye Mahalla Pehla ਅੰਦਰੋਂ ਝੂਠੇ ਪੈਜ ਬਾਹਰ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਅੰਦਰ ਫੈਲ 68 ਤੀਰਥ ਜੇ ਨਾ ਵਹਿ ਉਤਰੈ ਨਾਹੀ ਮੈਲ ਜਿਨ ਪਟ ਅੰਦਰ ਬਾਹਰ ਗੁੱਦੜ ਤੇ ਭਲੇ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਤਿਨ ਨਿਹੁ ਲੱਗਾ ਰਬ ਸੇਤੀ ਦੇਖਣੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਰੰਗ ਹੱਸੈ ਰੰਗ ਰੋਵੈ ਚੁੱਪ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਜਾਹੇ ਪਰਵਾਹ ਨਾਹੀ ਕਿਸੈ ਕੇਰੀ ਬਾਜ ਸੱਚੇ ਨਾ दरवाट ऊपर खर्च मंगा जब्बे दे ता खाए दीवान एको कलम एका हम्मा तुमा मेल दर ले लेखा पढ़ छुटे नानका ज्यों तेल पौड़ी आप ही करना कियो कल आप ही ते धारिय देखे कीता अपना तर कच्ची पक्की सारिय जो आया सो चल सी सब कोई आई वारिय जिसके जी प्राण है क्यों साहिब मन विसारिय आपन हथी अपना आपे ही काज सवारिय आपन हथी अपना आपे ही काज सवारिय. So that essentially is the passage, not very long. So let me just go back and read. I won't do a line by line, but I'll just provide you with an English précis of what I have picked up from here, line by line. I'll just read it all out. So it starts out by saying Nanak fikke boliye tan man fikke hoye. So here he's saying, Guru Nanak Dev Ji, that the foul mouth, those who use impulsive language, fall into disrepute. Then he goes on to say they're not acceptable and are offensive in the eyes of the Creator and bring themselves into disrepute. Then he goes to say that they are murk. Murk, he calls them murk. And a murk is literally one who speaks without thought. And eventually the murk, Pana Lahe Sajaye, has to pay a price for this offensiveness. Of course, here the example that Guru Nanak uses is very colorful. Pana Lahe Sajaye means to be beaten up with shoes, but you get the idea of what he's trying to say. And then in the second the second verse, Mahalla Pehla, Andron Chute Pej Bahar Duniya Andar Phail, then he refers to them as hypocrites who are trying to project a good image. But then he goes on to say, but the truth is that if they were to wash themselves at all these 68 pilgrimages, we know the idea of 68 major pilgrimages, right? And he says, even if they were to go there and cleanse themselves, they wouldn't be able to clean the filth within. Of course, he's not talking about physical filth. He's talking about the filth of one's thoughts and emotions. And then here he contrasts them to the others, the more desirable sort of persona. Jin pat andar bahar guddar te pale sansar te neo laga rab seti dekhne vichar. So on the other hand, he's saying softness of the heart and gentleness of speech is a divine quality, and those who possess these qualities are infused, they are colored, in other words, with divine virtues. Such people don't really care, or shall I say give a damn, about worldly fame or accolades. They live their lives attuned to Naam, carefree and spontaneous. Rang hasse, rang rove, chup bhi kar jahe. These are indications of, this is life. You're laughing one moment, you're crying the other, you're quiet again. So here he's referring to life generally, that they are actually living a life that is completely attuned. And then he goes on to say, Darwat upar kharch manga jabbe de ta khaye. Here, literally, of course, it means that I would sit at their door and and eat whatever they give me. But I think what he's saying here is that um, I seek their company and I seek their wisdom, basically. And now he switches he switches to his essential message, and he says, Diban eko kalam eka hamma tuma mel. Here he's talking about the flowing pen of hukam. Diban eko kalam eka. So diban, of course, literally means a court, but he's referring to hukam. There's one hukam with a flowing pen, and it is this pen that scripts our coming together and our separation. So coming together, being torn asunder, all of this is within hukam. That lai lekha pirak chutte nanka jyo tel. Again, here he's repeating. He seems to like the analogy of oil being squeezed out of sesame seeds for those who have not acquitted themselves in this world well, because he goes on to say that the creator actually is holding you accountable. He's saying, uh, आपने करना क्यों कल आपे ही ते तारी है देखे कीता अपना तर कच्ची पक्की सारी है. In other words, he's actually measuring you on a scale of whether you are kacha or pakka. In other words, whether you have actually, your incubation period and you've actually sort of become ready or mature, in other words. And so the creator is holding you accountable. And then he goes on to say, "Jo aaya so chal si sab koi aayi wari hai," which is pretty obvious that those who come will have to go. In other words, life and death is just part of the process. And so he again goes on to remind us that if you are still breathing, why not? Why do you want to not stay centered? That is what is meant by visariye, simriye. So staying centered or attuning your consciousness to the larger consciousness around you. And apan hathi apna ape kaj sawari, again, I think here is asking you to take charge of your own affairs. This to me is how it appears at a very basic level. I think he has in various places talked about the cultivation of sweet speech as being the essence of a cultured mind. I think Guru Nanak lays a lot of emphasis on, he says somewhere, "Mithat nini nanka gun changyaya tat." It's the essence of all virtues. So he's laying a lot of stress on cultivated speech, because and we can talk about this a little later, because I get the sense that uh, the guru is also expressed and mediated with us through sound, which is speech, as well as music. So he's, I think he's connecting speech as the fundamental level at which change begins. So if your speech is, if your speech pattern is egotistic, and if your speech pattern is what it is, it more or less over time begins to define you. And I think his emphasis on speech here is to begin by changing your speech patterns. This reminds me of a song from a Raj Kapoor movie many years ago. I don't remember the lyrics. Someone does. Mit jayega ek din tu mati ke mol, reh jayenge pyare tere bol. So what will be left of you eventually, after you have sort of mingled, after your body has mingled with dust, what will remain of you is your bol. Bol here refers to your speech, what words you have used. How have you used them? How have you treated others through your words? Because words, as you know, can pierce you. In fact, Kabirji also talks about words being like arrows with a hook. They hurt, and they also for that reason are transforming. This is my sense of what is being said here. So I want to just open this. I guess I'm moderating. So, Chetandeep Singh, let's start with you.
Hanji Virji, thank you so much for going through the party. It was pretty quick, and I'm still trying to come to terms to with what's being said in the party. But I've often wondered about this thing, as you said, cultivate cultivation of sweet speech. Uh, I don't know, but I do not agree with what you said that sweet speech is a goal or is a quality as said by Guru Nanak. And I'm going to give a very raw analogy that I just thought about, so it might be pretty raw, but bear with me. So, right, I've often heard that if you squeeze a gulab jamun, right, a sweet, what comes out is sugar syrup, right? And extending this analogy, if you squeeze a bitter gourd or a karela, what comes out is a bitter syrup. Now, if you dip a karela or a bitter gourd in a sweet syrup, it is not going to become sweet, right? No matter how much of sweet speech you cultivate from outside. The point being, the cultivation of sweet speech or a sweet speech is an after effect of a fundamental change inside rather than the other way around. It is definitely not an external quality that we should pursue. uh, Something has to change internally and then it will reflect. And when Guru Nanak says fikke boliye, to me it feels like that he's maybe either talking about walking in hukam, fikke boliye, or talking after being in tune with hukam rather than just saying, oh, I'm speaking very sweetly or gently. Sorry, these are my direct thoughts without any processing.
Hanji, no, no, I appreciate what you're saying. But let me just respond to you by saying that you are, when you say that something has to happen internally, that speech is an after effect, what you're doing, Chetandeep, is you are actually positing a linear process. You're saying something has to happen first, and then you will end up, really being sweet in your speech. My response to that is that this is not a linear process. This is a simultaneous and iterative process. Because what you're saying then, in effect, is that you're precluding any starting point outside. And that is where I would differ with you. I think that your starting point is outside. I mean, look at the guru being mediated with you. It is through words, it's outside. You read it first, and then a process begins internally. But then again, these are not linear items, these are happening simultaneously together. So I think we will sort of stick with just this difference of opinion. I don't think it is linear. I think the starting process, more often than not, is external because that is where our mind and senses are attuned to before you
Uh,
can even get to the internal.
can I share follow up thoughts?
Yeah, 30 seconds.
Okay, I agree with you completely that it's not a linear process, but a iterative process. But and
But
we have
that's how you
often
put it,
we
right? You said
no
something
no
has
no
to
no
happen
hold on
first.
hold on. But
No,
we
no,
have
no. First,
we
accept that, right? No, hang on. You said something has to happen internally first. These are your
yes.
words. And I'm saying to
In
you, not necessarily.
with respect to speech,
Yeah,
we have often spoken about support structures and scaffoldings and doing nickname. I agree with all of that, but with respect to sweet speech, given my analogy, no matter how much you do externally, you dip something in sweet syrup, it is not going to become sweet.
okay. We'll take this offline. I don't want to get stuck in this. But again, we can discuss this later. Let me move through the panel here in fairness to the others. Dilpreet Singh.
Hanji Virji, thank you. I think interesting discussion we are having. So where I got stuck on this is that there is a line which is it says Jin pat andar bahar guddad te pale sansar. So is the message here that if you are good from inside, and even bahar guddad means that if your speech is not good but still they are good? Or so, how do you take this line?
I read this line as being pat really means virtues like softness of heart, as I said, gentleness of speech. And because in the previous lines, there is an allusion to people trying to spread their reputation by looking good, by I think there are lines just above there, and here the contrast is that even if from the outside you may not appear to be of genteel society, that's how I read it. But if you have these qualities inside, you're much more valuable. That's much more desirable. That's a much more desirable state to be.
Okay, so even if their speech is not gentle, but if they are good from inside, it is better state, right?
I gentleness of speech can become a whole discussion topic, but and I don't want to get, I'm going to give the others a chance. But yeah, my reading of it is that these are inner qualities that he's talking about, now not outer qualities as much.
Right. Okay. If you are not perceiving, or if you are, because we can fool people from outer quality.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what he's saying in the above lines, right? I mean, you can also, not only if your speech is impulsive and if your speech is foul mouthed, you obviously develop a bad reputation. But then he goes on to say that you can actually fool people, as Chetan Deep is saying, with sweet speech. You may not, you may be a Karela inside, right? But then he's saying it's better to be a Karela outside but
Right. I
silky inside.
get it now, because if you're good from inside
Yeah,
and you're not accepted by people being that good or something,
yeah,
I think he's saying you can ignore and move on.
yeah. And that's what he's saying. They really don't care about it, right? They just live centered.
Thank you.
हाँ कुलदीप जी,
हाँ जी, सत श्री अकाल जी।
सत श्री अकाल जी.
हाँ जी, it's very interesting. Even what Dilpreet ji said and Chetan, they very interesting. The idea is to bring in line internal to external. Anyway, internal has more power than the external. No matter what we say from the mouth, it's true what Chetan Deep said. Andar hove so ugave, muka kya bhao. The other person will get the effect from the internal, what you have internally, maybe from the mouth you are bad or good. To me looks like he's more right on that point. Then Patti Andar Bahar Gudar, that applies to another. That's when you are showing yourself you're very religious outside, or inside you are a culprit, you want to cheat others and all that. That line is applicable at another place. The other one is applied here. Actually, this is a whole process. Fir Sahib said कि फिक्का ना गलाए सबना में सच्चा तनी. So even Fir said before gurus, similar thing. But that's another higher stage. It's like a baby growing up. Whatever he's thinking today, tomorrow he will think, oh yes, that was not correct. This is correct today. Then he grows more bigger. Like he plays with the toys first, cars and all, then he knows the reality, the real car is different. So he said, Papa, I don't want the toy. Exactly, the Gurbani takes us from the lowest level, slowly, to the higher consciousness. At one point, you will not be able to say, utter any bad word to anybody. Because then you will get hurt, feel hurt by yourself. Why did I said bad to him? He may say sometime, because under the influence of the five, Kam, Kro, Lomo, Hankar, he may say bad word. But the one who is a little bit on the Gurmukh side, then he will regret. He may go back to him, say, sorry, I couldn't control myself, this and that. So this is how the process, the Gurbani is bringing us from lowest level to the highest level. Slowly, like the mother feeds the baby to the higher level, slowly. Sometimes she's unhappy with him or chirki bhi kardi, but inside is pyar. Idea is here that we should be full of love from inside, no matter to whom we are talking, what we are talking. Then the real effect of the internal personality will naturally, definitely go on to the other party. They will say, oh yes, I know this guy a long time ago. He's not that bad. Maybe he said this bad to me. It's for my correctiveness. I have to correct myself. This is how I can take it. Thank
हाँ
you.
जी, थैंक यू जी. हाँ जी, कुलवंत कौर भैन जी.
हाँ जी वीर जी, वाइट हाउस फतेह जी. Yeah. Very interesting. I think you explained well, and also Chetandeep too. Definitely, Guru Sahib ji talking about code of conduct here. And as I have a question for Chetandeep, like he said, even if you dip the Karela in something sweet, it won't change. He doesn't literally mean Karela means the the sabji, the fruit Karela means the person with negative personality trait, sika bolan wala banda. And what if the person whom we call the Karela come into the sangat of Guruji? Won't he be changed?
Chetandeep?
I'm not so sure. Looking at historical examples like Prithi Chand or all the people, Chandu, they were all in Guru's presence all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Did they change? I'm not sure.
But could it be that they are just in the physical presence?
Yeah, I think like when we learn about Sajjan Thag, he came into contact with Guru Nanak Sahib and he was changed.
So then I think you answered yourself. All it points to is the internal change rather than external change.
Yeah, external. This is what I'm thinking too. If we come into Guruji's Sangat, we can definitely slowly, eventually, there is a scope of redemption.
Well, I would, yeah, well, redemption is quite a loaded word, but the fact is that I might suggest to each one of us that just look at your own process since we have been meeting in Sangat. I mean,
Right.
it has certainly helped me a tremendous amount, and I am sure that I can safely speak for the others as well. It has certainly brought about a movement inside. I can vouch for that. I'm not suggesting by any means that there isn't a longer path to traverse, but just looking back through this time, I think it has been a tremendous experience. So, Eileen, are you back? No, she's
Hanji,
not.
thanks. Yes, thanks. Sorry, I was
Oh,
had
okay.
a technical problem.
All right.
Yeah, I was trying to connect today's thoughts with the last pony, and I know that the last one was talking about sort of like or at least the way I was understanding it, the futility of trying to get purity in food and things like that, and what type of purity is the true purity. And I think that message, that aspect carries through, right? So the one thing probably we would agree on in this party is the message of the looking inward to that being cleansed, right? Like that's really the message that we hear time and time again.
Yeah.
But what I'm struggling to connect in some ways is the message on the last party that said, to try to avoid calling someone good or bad, right? Because you don't know that internal dynamic, I guess, is you could say maybe that's why. And there's only one, it's only the connection to the creator that matters, not what you can visibly see. So if you carry that forward to the message we're talking about today, there's some kind of talk about what is this person's character that in their speech. And so that's the part I'm trying to kind of connect back to. It's a little bit confusing around, are we trying to, are we falling into a trap of like assessing someone based on their speech? What, is that part of that external, or is it, at what point does a speech, say or not say how you're connected to the creator?
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point that you raise. I mean, when I said speech being fundamental, I was really not talking about speech as an instrument of interaction, but with the outside, which it is, as much as a tool of interaction with the inner self, sort of an understanding, because I think it works both ways. At least that's my thought. I mean, who knows? I mean, I could be way off, but I feel like speech works both ways, outside and inside. And becoming aware of one's speech patterns, I at least find, has a powerful effect on the mind. But to your point, you raise a good point, and I don't really know what the answer is. But let me go to Gurjeet Singh Virji. I haven't come to him yet. Virji, are you there? Is he there? He's not. Okay. Okay,
Yeah, I'm
Harvinder.
there. Is it? Hello.
हाँ जी, आ गए हो?
हाँ जी, आ गए हैं जी.
हाँ
Let
जी.
me check. अच्छा जी. I think we have not been able to distinguish between the three tastes. There is a sweet, mittha, there is a koda, and there is a fikka. We are going more towards koda from fikka. Koda and fikka are different. Fikka is like a history. It won't change you spiritually because it's just written by someone. But mittha will be like Guru Nanak says, Jaisi mein aave khasam ki bani, taisra karin gyan ve lalu. That is the most difficult part in any faith. When Guru Nanak himself says to Janeu soot peher kare buryai, that is actually sweet from Sachkhand, but is bitter for a manmukh who is not following it. So fikka is something I think he's trying to tell us that if you are following a faith, there is no way you can do fikka. You have to speak something which will give color of Sachkhand to someone. We have to
We lost him. Virji, we've lost you.
we have. Is it still there?
हाँ जी, you cut off.
ਹੁਣ ठीक है जी.
हाँ जी, हुन फिर आ गए हो.
ठीक है. Oh, I think actually the phone I just cut him off. So I think until we understand the fikka is something which is of no avail to anyone. You do a katha and no one understood what the meaning is. You got your money and come back. You haven't given any color to his wisdom. So when you're giving a color to someone's wisdom, some of the words could be harsh for us because we are not at that level. But for such kind of people, they want to mend us. And until, until we are at that stage, we will always find the bitterness. I know there are shloks like, Ved pade pad Brahme Janam Gavaya. These things have been literally taken against us by the Hindus. They say they criticize us, but it's not criticism in the false sense, it's the criticism in the true sense. So, this is what I think Guru Nanak is emphasizing, especially for the preachers, that if you are a preacher, you are speaking the truth, you will be getting in a position. Don't be scared. Don't say a speech which means nothing. So Nanak Fikke boliye, if you are telling only the ficky things to other which is not giving a color, your own tanman is also fikka and you are also making someone else at the same level. His level of wisdom is not going up. You have to panikadi, you have to break his, whatever false sort of superstitions he's having. So Asa Ki Vaar has done the whole way that thing. That he's is maybe kaudi for us because it is very bitter, but it is mittha from Sachkhand. That's what I think he's laying the emphasis on. Ki Nanak fikke boliye, and please is advising all the preachers that you should follow that rule, not to say anything which is ineffective. Say something which will be effective. So it's a way of saying it, but it should at least go and hit someone at some sort of the level. Then only he will try to pursue. And then if you have been doing this preaching, you won't be honored in God's court because you have taken a responsibility of mending people. Guru Nanak has said it, Khoon ke sohle gaviye Nanak. He says it's not an easy thing to preach the true wisdom to people. It's almost like, putting sindoor like a blood in your sindoor and doing that sort of action. But you are not doing it. Sometimes we criticize because we are at a lower level. Sachkhand is at a very high level. If he is giving advice, they are doing it for the benefit.
So, Virji, can you help us with the Pauri? I mean, can we come to because Eileen raised a question about the Pauri and Are we judging people by their speech, as she said, by their speech pattern?
आपे ही करना की हो कल आपे ही ते तारी है ए करना आपा this one you are asking?
No, I don't know if you heard Eileen. Eileen,
No,
do you want to repeat yourself, because I think it was an interesting point you raised.
Well, sure. I was just trying to connect to the last party, and just the message to not, um, uh, not make a judgment because the connection to the creator is within and so forth. So I was just trying to make the connection of um, what is the message here as far as this description of people who they have some kind of a bad reputation, or they have some kind of we're basically just disparaging them based on the way they speak, or talking about them and based on the way they speak. And I was just trying to connect the dots and see if there's some more clarity you can
means
offer.
to me the message is in the last line apan hathi apna ape hi kaaj sawariye this we have to do this job. The creator has helped us to create the tools, but we know how to use them, right? So it's my responsibility as a being to get rid of my bad habits or whatever, my sins. And he is only helping me by sending a Sadguru who's telling me, but acceptance comes from my end. Until I accept it, saying Guru Nanak is great doesn't help me in the end, or Guru Granth Sahib is great is nothing helping me until I achieve that greatness through the objectives which have been told, which I have to obey. So the way I understand is that the Jeev himself is created. The Jyot has created the body, but we are not following those rules that we need to get a mukti from this body. There is no mukti in any other life. We are falling far apart, or fikka to me is that no one has mended us in the right way, and we have been following the same path because he was scared to tell us what is right and wrong. And we, on the other hand, we have such a strong ego, we won't even accept him. So that's what I think is.
Hanji, thank you, Ji. That's a slightly different perspective, an interesting one. Let me, Harvinder, you haven't said a word.
And Vijay, I think I am good on the first shlok and the body. On the second shlok, I think there are a few lines that are still not clear to me. If someone can, like this one, Rang hasse, rang rove, chup bhi kar jaye.
Okay. I'll throw this out to the panel, so I'll start with Chetandeep. Chetandeep, do you want to enlighten us on those lines?
On the complete
Vijay, I found your explanation to be pretty good. I was actually hoping that I could share. I was waiting when you'll come back to me, and I was hoping either I could respond to Eileen's question, or I had some thoughts on Pauri.
You can treat this as your second round. Harvinder has raised a question regarding 2 lines, and so combine it all.
Okay, I think I don't know what you said. Rang hasse rang rove chuppi kar raha, it made sense to me. Like they take everything in their stride, and they're just okay with everything that's going on.
I mean, to me, those hasna, rona, and all are just markers of life, right?
Right. So I mean, I think that made sense to me. I have a couple of points to make, so let me go back there and let me start with responding to Eileen. She was saying we judge is it like judging other people by their speech?
Mm-hmm.
What I have seen in my life is like I do judge other people, but speech is often the last marker to judge. So if I meet anyone, I immediately the judging process starts in me by looking at how they look, by comparing myself to them in very subtle ways. And often I've seen like I use the speech as an excuse to judge them. I've already made up my mind, and I use the speech as a kind of an excuse. If someone speaks too loud, and then I'll put that in their list. Oh, he speaks too loud, or like we've heard this thing. If you like someone, even if they abuse you verbally, you will love that. You won't mind that. But if you don't like someone, then no matter what they say, you will find faults in them. But uh, that's how I've seen it happening in my life personally. I meet uh, people around, and that's how I judge and compare myself against other people, and that's how, you know. But I have a question for you. Maybe
For
we
me,
could yeah, we can come back to it. It's on the body. Uh, in the first sentence it says ape hi karna kiyo, right? And we have seen this at every place, in a lot of places in Gurbani, that this is his khel, kache and pakke, good, so called, like, for lack of better term, good or bad, or kache or pakke, gurmukh or manmukh, they're all his play, right? And if I try to visualize this, like I'm standing in my kitchen and I'm roasting sesame seeds, and they're all my seeds and I'm roasting them. Some of them are roasted, well roasted, and some of them are not. So I'm watching them, I'm dekhe kita apna, and then, and I'm also kind of judging them. Oh, this is well roasted, this is not roasted. And then there might be consequences too, like I might throw some of the seeds that are not well roasted. uh, but the point being, like, in this case, judgment is not really a judgment. It's just like, is it well roasted or not? And there is no consequence. So how this all relates to maybe the last pankti, apan hathi apna pe kachwariye, right? I mean, I'm just thinking about this visualization. Back to you, Vijay.
well, um, the last line, as Gurjeet Singh Virji said, I mean, it's all about accountability, self accountability, right? In sort of fashioning our lives the way we should. That's how I read it. So we have the raw material, and what we make of it is, I think, ultimately a matter of self accountability. At least that's how I understand it. We can talk about this offline a little more. So right now, let me give it to Dilpreet to address some of this as well. Dilpreet.
Ji, Virji, I was thinking that why are we confining the speech on the how part, that how the speech is delivered, and we are not including the what part, right? That what is being said, because everybody is judged through the speech only. Yes, but this speech has couple of things, right? It is that what how they are saying is just a small portion of it, but what is being said is the more important part. I think Guruji is more focused on the what part, and he is saying that we have to go beyond that how it is delivered, but stick to the what part, because I think everybody is judged through speech. I judge, you judge me through speech or discussion, but at the end it is speech only, right? So we have to focus more on the what part, not on the how part. I think that is where Guruji is taking us.
No, you're absolutely right, and I hope that that is what we all implied, because what we say to each other is what leaves a mark, right? Not how we said it.
That
Rather, I mean, the how becomes a nuance, but the fundamental thing is what I say to you or what words I use in communicating with you. They could be sharp as arrows. We know that, right? So what is being said is definitely, in my mind at least, very important. So I'm going through the panel again. Eileen, coming back to you. I don't know if clarified anything or whether you have more questions or observations.
No, I think that's definitely helpful because I think there's kind of like a meta level or observation about what's happening, and then you could also just sort of take. I mean, I like Chitandeep's point about there's actually just a state of you know um, of doneness or wellness, like um, how our internal state is and how our state actually is, or our speech is actually reflecting that. So if I just take away that aspect of how it's being perceived, and just say there just is a state in which those things are aligned, that's kind of helpful to me to think about. And also just also to think about, as Virgie was saying, the actions be kind of tying into to speech. And I think that's also kind of an underlying aspect that was being lost to me was, you know, speech only goes so far. So yeah, I think it's clear. I think it's a lot clearer. So thank you.
Good, thanks. And I picked up on a word you used, doneness. You know, whether they're done, whether you've been sort of cooked enough, whether you're done or not. And you know, but the important thing is, like in this methodology that we use these days at work and in the business of software delivery, it's very important to have the definition of done. What is done? What does that mean? So how do we know? I mean, I would ask that question generally. So let me go to Gurdeep Singh Veerji with that. Gurdeep Singh ji?
Anji. Yeah, it's a Gurbani se manukh bole kuch thai na paye. I think internal forces have more effect on the opposite person also. Ja kirtan tera sadhu gawe, ta mera man laga. Same Gurbani. Bani uchare sadh jan, amyo challe charne. Why it's a different effect on the people when the different singers are singing the same Gurbani, and some of them, these ragis, they influence so much, and you feel so good, but the same shabd somebody else is singing, it have no effect on us. So I think to me, Gurbani gives your internal, should be so pure and so creative and so effective, that will ultimately come out, no matter what you say from the mouth. Like the politicians, every time they promise so many promises on every election, and people say, oh, no, you know, he's a big politician. Don't believe what he said. They will never be able to do that. So that's where I think Guruji wants us not to be politicians only, but internally, we have to be very, very good, strong, and internally we have to do which have more effect on the external. This is how I think on this. Thank you.
Hanji Kulwant Kaur Bhenji. Not all politicians are internally attuned, and yet they have the capacity to hypnotize large masses of people. Some very evil people can do that too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So, Hanji.
Anji, Vijay, thank you. I think everything is almost clear to me.
Lucky you. अच्छा जी, ठीक है. हाँ जी, गुरजीत सिंह वेद जी, final comments.
Anji Veerji.
Anji, final comments, please.
Anji, yes, because I have only a minute to go.
Okay.
I think the one like Bhagats have no control, you know, because the one behind them is speaking and they are speaking the same thing. So there is no mistrust in their speech. Whatever they say, we have to trust their speech. And it is always sweet because the one behind them, you know, Sai Mahenda Ithada, Amambe Thom Ithada, the one speaking behind them is a sweet person. But the one who is further relying, after we are reading, we need to follow the same rule as they have done it, as close as possible. Otherwise, we are not doing the justice with the Gurbani. So I'll stop there. Thank you, Ji.
Thank you, Ji. Harvinder, you have any final comments?
I'm good, Ji.
Okay, we have about 10 minutes or so left. Does anybody want to pick up on another point? I mean, this is an open call.
Yes, myself.
Haji, Virji.
रंग हसे रंग रोवे चुप भी कर जाए परवाह नाई किसे केरी बाज सच्चे नाई. These are the people who are really in tune with the God. They don't care for anybody else. This is very effective here. They always be happy because they're in tune with the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Soul. So then they don't care for the people around. As Gurbani said, Dunya na salahe jo marvanj si, loka na salahe jo mar khag thi, waho mere sahiba waho, Gurmukh sada salahi hai, sacha be parwaho. So that answers here from Gurbani, answered by the Gurbani, that we should not care for the people around, not for those 5 devils, you know, we all know, Kam, Krodh, Ahankar. They are making us, fooling us every point, but we have to be in tune with the Lord, Supreme Lord. So this is what I think, Rang Hase Rang Rove Rang Chupi Karja. Thank you.
Anji, thank you, Ji. Anji, anybody? I know, was it you, Chetandeep, who was trying to raise a point?
Hanji Veerji, I think my question in the second round was not clear, so the question is addressed to you. If you could help me understand the first line and the last line of Pauri, the example I gave, right? If you are roasting the seeds and they are his seeds and those seeds are being roasted as it says in the first and second line, आप पे करना कियो and दिखेगी तापना. So then what is in the hands of seeds, right? I mean, if आप पे करना कियो, then how does it reconcile with apna hathi apna ape ka? What is in the
Well,
hands?
yeah, well, I think this is a perennial issue, right? This is really hearkening back to uh, how much determinism and how much free will, right? I mean, if it is all deterministic, then what are we doing? And I again, to my earlier point to you, when I wanted to emphasize the linear versus simultaneity, here too, I don't build. And I will make a round of the panel, but my response to you would be that I think the way the system operates is that there is indeed, hukam flowing, but within hukam, so it's like a game, right? I mean, khel, it's like a game, but the game has some rules. And within those rules, you have some freedom to move the ball. I mean, let's say if it's a ball game, right? So I think that we have some freedom, maybe not absolute freedom. And there is obviously the guardrails that Hukam provides. So within those guardrails, what we make of our lives is really up to us to that degree. And yes, not every outcome will be what you want, but the point is, at the end of the day, you want to stop worrying about outcomes. It is about being in a posture of excellence where you are in whatever you're doing. So outcomes, and because when we talk about what is in our hands, we usually say, well, what can we actually control? And I think there is a randomness at work where sometimes things might work out your way, sometimes they may not. But in the end, it is really not about those outcomes. It is about your ability to fashion yourself, your ability to do things, and your ability to become attuned to a higher consciousness so that you can actually be inspired. As Gurjeet Singh Veer ji said, "Jaisi mein aave kasam ki bani." So you want to be at that point of inspiration to enjoy the game. That's really my response in a nutshell. And we'll talk. I know you and I will talk about this. But today, let me give the others a chance. Anji Dilpreet Singh ji.
Anji, it's an interesting thought, right? Because as you said, this always that what we can do, we cannot put the blame on him for everything, right? Of our wrongdoings or good doings or whatever we can say. So, as it is a game, we make choices, we play the game, but the hukam has laid the game. But at the end, it does not impact the hukam how we play the game. The hukam keeps moving on. That's how I say it, that yes, it will not impact the hukam, it will not change it, but the hukam will keep moving its own state, and it does not bother the hukam, or hukam is not bothered about that what choices we are making, but it will keep moving. It is independent of that. That's how I see.
Hanji. Eileen, do you want to address Chetandeep's point?
I don't know. I think I don't have anything. I don't have any valuable thoughts.
You have no piercing insights tonight?
Yeah, no, no. I think I'm spent on insights.
Okay, too much banking. All right, Gurdeep Singh Veer ji.
Hanji.
Chetandeep ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸੁਣੀ ਹੈ ਨਾ? You've heard Chetandeep.
I know, yeah, heard. But there is game is like tre gun ne, tre gun mein varte sansara. Ik hai chautha pad. So this is a game. Tinne gun de vich as you sow, so shall you reap. But chautha pad hai. ਉਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਾ ਕੇ the game we are playing the game, we have to get into the ਚੌਥਾ ਪਦ। ਤੇਈ ਗੁਣੀ ਸੰਸਾਰ ਭਰਮ ਸੁੱਤਾ ਸੁੱਤਿਆ ਰਹਿਣ ਬਿਹਾਣੀ ਗੁਰ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਤੇ ਸੇਜਨ ਜਾਗੈ ਜਿਨ ਹਰ ਮਨ ਵਸਿਆ ਬੋਲੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤ ਬਾਣੀ। This is the name of the game. It's true. You are right, very right. खेल किया खेल बड़ मेल वाह वाह का बड़ा तमाशा। This all is a game, but we are responsible within the three gun. Once we are in the चौथे पद ਜਦੋਂ ਸਾਡੀ ਐਕਸੈਸ ਹੋਣੀ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਹੋ ਗਈ, then everything is Paramatma, then he is doing everything. But here Tin gun. There's a lot of vyakya about Tre gun. We will talk some other time. It's a long topic. Whole Gurbani talk about Tre gun. Tre gun is sansar paramsutta. Tre gun varte sansara. Tre gun maya de andar hai sara kuch. So I leave the name of the game. Thank you.
Thank you, ji. Thank you, Veer ji. Hanji, Panji. Kulwant Kaur Panji.
Virji,
Last thoughts.
Hanji.
And it's okay if you don't have any additional thoughts.
Yeah, I don't have really much, but I will say like it's you well said that there's a system, there's a game, we all play games, and there are people who don't care about, like Guru Sahib said, parwah nahi kise keri waad sache nahi. They don't care about the outcomes. They just play the game.
Haji, well said. Harvinder, any last minute observation? No questions.
And no, I think I'm good. Ravindraji, like now we do like at the end, if you can give us a takeaway message from the shloks in the body and close it.
You're always putting me on the spot. To me, the takeaway message is, as Gurdeep Singh Veerji said earlier, the whole game is to be integrated and aligned inside and outside. In other words, don't be a hypocrite. Cultivate. I think the way my takeaway is, become a truly cultured person. And cultured people are gentle in the heart, sweet in their speech. These are virtues to be cultivated on the outside, but they work with the inside. So the whole circular process that is continuously at work, I think we need to focus on those things. We need to kind of, at least from today's Pauri, I would say that we should watch what words are we using when we are addressing our friends, our family. I mean, just think about it. We say the most, unkindest of cuts to the people that we claim to love. I mean, this whole business at home, for instance, we are very quick to use cutting words for people at home. Maybe we ought to take a look again. My takeaway is, I was actually telling my wife this evening when she was actually throwing some very biting words at me. I was singing that song from that Hindi film to her and saying, "Watch your bowl." And I sincerely believe that. I think that it will help you in all the dimensions of your life to be successful, is to cultivate fine speech. So, without more ado, that's my takeaway today. Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful, marvelous dialogue. We shall reconvene next Wednesday. Thank you very much. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa.
Waheguru
Waheguru
Ji
Ji Ki
Ki
Fateh.
Fateh.